Hello everyone, it is Teresa's Spot for Art, where I love sharing art from my heart and teaching you how to create a little joy in your life through some fun, simple, and quick art projects. Today, I don't know if you can see this guy, we're doing a little St. Patrick's Day gnome. So let me turn you guys around and we will get started. So yes, I have him traced on here. If I hold him up, you can see it. I have out a little true blue, baby blue, and some white. I'm going to pick up about almost a 3/4 inch flat brush for the background. I'm going to load it with white first, and then I'm going to come over and stick a corner in the blue. And I'm just going to start doing very broad strokes of white and blue on my background. We don't want to over mix. We want to blend, and we want to give it a strippy effect. So I'm going to pick up white and blue every time and come back to my canvas. Now we want to get in the nooks and crannies around our gnome. So that's when we have to pay a little bit more attention to what we're doing. But other than that, we're just doing these broad vertical strokes up and down, getting as close to our gnome as we can. We do have to turn the brush a little bit when we get close to his body and his beard. But other than that, we want all these strokes to be vertical. I pick up white and blue every single time and try and make my strokes as vertical as possible. So I'm coming out here on the end where it's easier to do these big broad strokes until we get closer to his body, and then we have to turn our brush and do a little bit more detail. As you can see, every time I go back, cut in around his hat, I'm picking up blue and white on my brush, and I do not want to overmix. Let's get around him here, and then I'll try my best to do these vertical lines. I put out some of the true blue, but I don't even think I need it. Okay. If you have to fill in some spots, make sure you use your brush very broadly so you blend into the other areas where you already painted. So now, in this little crevice between the big part of his hat and the tail of his hat, we're going to put some big strokes in there. Okay? And then I have to come down on the bottom and try and fit in around his shoe. If you go over his shoe, it's fine. We're going to come back. I'm going to do his shoes in a burnt umber or black, and it'll cover up any paint that we may have gotten on his shoes that we didn't want there. And now our background is done. Okay, so I'm going to wash my brush. I'm going to switch to a little bit of a smaller brush. This is a flat brush also. Oh, oopsie. Get some glue for that. This is a small brush also, but it's about a 1/2 inch wide. And I'm going to get out some red and some orange. I think this is a canyon orange in this case. I know I had it. Yep, here it is. And I'm also going to get out my 2 greens. I have a fairly dark Kelly bright green here. And then I have this matcha green, which is almost in the yellow family, but it's a nice highlight and contrast to the dark green. See how nice they just complement each other? Okay, so I'm going to go back in with my smaller brush. I'm going to pick up the dark green, and I'm going to start working on his hat. So this band on the hat is black. If you get green on it, it's okay. The black will cover it. But I'm going to work on the hat in sections, creating my strokes horizontally to follow the curve of the hat. When we paint our elements, we want our paint strokes to go with the shape of whatever it is we're painting. Okay. Again, I'm going to skip that part. I'm going to come back up in here. So I'm going to gently form my outline and then start filling in. But I want my strokes to be, oh, that's going to be black, horizontal. So again, let's do this line up this side. And let's just have these strokes. So while I'm trying to cover, my brush goes every which way, but when I'm trying to fill in, I want all my brush strokes to be smooth and go the way I want them to go. In this case, a little bit of a curve back and forth on the top of the hat. I'm going to come in here and do the tail that swoops down. And if you can see, his hat is going to need 2 coats. So I'm going to move down here to his clothes. Let's start with his arm. Don't worry too much about cutting in the beard here, because our beard is going to end up overlapping his outfit. So I just want the bottom part of his robe, or whatever it is that gnomes wear, and I'm going to fill that in. Including this other arm up here. Okay. Now I'm going to get a little bit of black, and I'm going to keep the green on my brush. I'm just going to pick up a corner, tiny bit. You can hardly even see it. It's almost like a flea. There it is, tiny bit of black. And we'll come in here, I'm going to start mixing in this black to get a little shading on the hat. A little bit of black goes a very long way. And again, we want our brush strokes to curve and follow the shape of the hat. Okay? Again, dark green, tiny pit of this black, and we're going to come in here and we're going to shade this side of the hat. Just add it in there a little bit, and then a little bit up in here and down that side. Okay, back to our dark green, and now we're going to pick up our light green, but it's a little bit more than a flea. We want quite a bit of light green on our brush, and now we're making our curves with our light green blending into our dark green. So we're going to have some dark green, we're going to have some light green, and then we're going to have some mix. Softening up my shadow there. Okay. Then I want the dark green. Pick up some dark green. And I'm using just the dark green. Okay, you can see it's starting to take shape now with the dark and the light. And then I'm going to pick up the light green and just put some light green in here to give our hat some more shape and highlight. Oops. I'll do a second coat in there. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom. I have the dark green on my brush, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to pick up a little bit of black, and I'm going to add some shadowing to the bottom part of his robe. We want the strokes to keep going horizontal. I know when we're first filling in, our brush has to go however we need it to go to get into the nooks and crannies, but once we've got full coverage, then we want our brush strokes to follow the element, in this case horizontal. I'm going to pick up a little bit more of this light and start putting it in here to add a little bit of lightness under his outfit. Okay, and then I'm going to put a second coat on his sleeves, and I'm going to leave that for now. I'm going to wash my brush. And give it a good dry. I like to make sure that my brush is dry. I don't want water to be stuck up in here, and then when I turn my brush upright to drip out. Okay, I got a little bit of green splash, but I'm not going to worry about that, and I'll show you why later. So don't worry about it. And I'm going to pick up some of this red paint, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to start base coating the red. Try and cut around his pot of gold as best you can. Don't worry if you don't do a perfect job. It's art. It doesn't have to be perfect. And we're going to come back and fix everything at a later time. It is acrylic paint, and you can fix anything. The point with all this is just to get our base coats in and our shapes and elements defined how we need them to be. Get around the nose. Painting goes in steps and layers. You work from the bottom layer up. And this is why I always say, don't worry if you make an error, because we can fix it as we go. We can fix it with the next step. We can fix it with the next layer, whatever it is. So now we have our base coat in there of red. Now I'm going to pick up some orange and some red, and I'm going to start stroking in some orange. I just put the orange on one corner, the red on another corner, and I'm going to start adding in some orange to my beard. Orange and red also tend to be a little translucent. It doesn't really matter what brand paint you buy. It's just the way it is, and so it always needs multiple coats, and so we're going to leave that for now. And I'm going to wash my brush. Give it a nice rinse, and then a nice squeeze on my rag. Okay. I'm going to go into my black. I'm probably going to need a little bit more black. I'm going to do the band on the hat. A little bit more black. There we go. Okay. And also, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do the pot of gold. I'm going to come around his hand, the very top of the pot, and then the bottom of the pot, and get it all filled in. And then I'm going to wash my brush. Oh, actually, let's do the shoes. Let's do the shoes. Get a little bit more black. I might need a smaller brush. If you need a smaller brush, that's fine. And then we're going to come in here. Can you see? I'm going to base coat his shoes. And these particular gnome shoes have a little bit of a point. Most of the time when I paint a gnome, they just have these little ovals sticking out. This guy we're giving a little bit of a point to. Okay? And now we're going to wash our brush. Okay, now I'm going to switch to my liner. Switch to my liner brush. I'm going to go back into our orange, and now we're going to start building on our beard. And I'm just putting in these curves. Sometimes I'm going to pick up red, and we're just layering in these colors. Go back and pick up some orange. Maybe pick up a little white with my orange and make a little bit lighter orange. Maybe go back and pick up some red. It's not science. Everyone's beard will look different, and that's totally okay. Oops. And some red. So we're constantly fixing and picking up some red and some orange, and I even added in a little white there, and we want a variety of colors and highlights in our beard. And this is why I said we were going to do our beard after, because it kind of hangs over the clothes a little bit. So we got orange again, and there we go. Okay, I'm going to wash that. Give it a nice rinse, and then clean my brush off. I'm going to go into my fresh white with my liner brush, and I'm just going to start putting a bunch of these strokes. You can't see them. They're white strokes. They're piling up inside the pot of gold, and I'm working my way up. Okay? Now I want to put a little bit of a white highlight here, and then here on our pot of gold. Okay. Oh, I'm also going to, while I have the white out, is base coat up here for the buckle. Now our buckle is going to be gold, but gold is translucent, so the first thing we want to do is base coat it in with white. Okay. Now I'll wash my brush. I want to get out a little bit. Oh, I thought I had some fawn. It's almondine. Let me grab some fawn. Clean my brush, dry it off. And I'm going to take this fawn, I'm going to pick up a little bit of white. Oh, I had some orange in my white, but that's okay. I'm going to come in here, I'm going to paint in his hands. His one hand holding the pot of gold, and then his other hand at his side. Okay, and again from tan and some white, And we're going to do the nose. And get it filled in. Okay, you see why we go in steps and layers? We keep building and adding and highlighting and layering. Okay, oh, got a little white up there. I'm not going to worry about that right now. Okay, I'm going to dry my brush. I'm going to put out a little bit of gold. The gold had a bubble in it and was making a mess. Okay, so I'm going to come up and I'm going to do the second coat of my buckle. So I'm just going to trace around my outline. And fill it in with the gold. All right, that's one coat. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to start adding in the gold coins, just like we did with the white, and piling them up on top of each other. But we don't want to cover the whole white. We don't want to cover it all. We're just adding random little gold strokes to our pot. We want to still be able to see some white. But we want to be able to see the coins too. Okay, and they're all piled up there, all different shapes and sizes. And now I can come back up here and do my second coat of gold on the buckle. Okay. And now we're going to wait for all of that to dry, and we're going to move down to our grasses. Let me put a little bit of white highlight on our shoes first, because they're going to probably get covered up. Let me clean it. Okay. I'm going to take the light green, I'm going to take the dark green, and I'm going to start making grasses. I'm starting at the bottom, I'm pulling up. I want what becomes up the top to be thinner, so as I pull up, my brush is getting less pressure. I'm mixing the greens. We would still want to see some blue through there. And I'm painting in these grasses. I come over here in the middle, pull up some grass in here, and then come out to the other side. And I'm always starting at the bottom of the canvas and pulling up. We want our tips of our grasses to be a little thinner than where we first put our brush down and applied the most pressure. Going to the other green. A nice variety. I'm going to take some green over here and add a little bit of black to it. If I had a really, really darker green, I would use that. But I'm just going to add a little black, and I'm going to put some darker strokes of grass in here. Not too many. I just add a little bit of black to a little bit of that dark green, and then I'm pulling in some different colors of grasses in there. Okay. You can make this as full or as sparse. You can make your grass as tall or as short as you want to. There's no rules. I got all that green down there. Okay, and again, I'm going to wash my brush and put it up here. And I'm going to go back to my medium-sized brush that we had before. And we're going to start doing some clouds. Okay, we're waiting for our hat to really dry and our beard to really dry. And we're bouncing around so we can continue working. I'm going to pick up some fresh white, but then I'm going to wipe it off. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to start scrubbing in circles and pulling out to the sides with my brush. Okay, we want the clouds at the top to be bigger than the clouds at the bottom. Putting white paint on my brush, I'm wiping it off a little bit, and then I'm coming in here and I'm scrubbing in counterclockwise and clockwise some shapes to make some clouds. Pick up some white, wipe it off, and start scrubbing in some circles. You want them to come out to the sides. You don't want them to have a flat shape, a perfect shape, identifying shape. Nope, you want them to be clouds. Now this one's a little bit dark. I didn't wipe off enough paint, but that's okay. And I'm using my brush in a scrubbing, swirling motion. You want to be able to see the blue behind, and our clouds are just faint. And as we work our way down here, they get smaller. They're far in the distance. And pick up paint, wipe it off. Got some cloud in the distance. And you can see I'm scrubbing, 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 out to the side, up and down. Pick up paint, wipe it off. And you can make your sky as full as you want. And you want to be able to see the blue through there. And I can. Okay? So I'm not even going to wash my brush. I'm going to go right into the green here, and we're going to add in our shamrocks. The shamrocks are a series of hearts. So I'm going to push down with one stroke and another stroke. Then I'm going to push down with one stroke and another stroke. And then I'm going to push down with one stroke and another stroke. And then I'm going to add a stem. That is the basis for our first shamrock. So we have the one heart, then we have the second heart, and then we have the third heart, and let me fix that, and a stem. Same thing up here. One heart, two hearts, three hearts, and then a stem. Okay, I'm going to go back to my liner brush, dry it off. Now I'm going to mix a little bit more of that darker paint with the black, not too much. You just want to have a little bit of shading. And I'm going to come in here, and now I'm going to really define my shamrock. See how I'm taking this darker paint here? I'm laying a little bit of highlight to the outside, and now you can really see the shamrock shape. And the same thing over here. And it's just a matter of the 3 hearts. Oop, got some black in there, that's okay. And then coming back in here with some darker green for the shading, and then we have our shamrocks. Now with my brush, I'm going to start coming in here, and I'm going to start adding in the details to our hat. So I'm coming down here and outlining it, cleaning this line up next to our sky, and pulling it in. Okay. I want to add in some of these dark strokes. See how they're curving a little bit? Up here. And then the light strokes. Didn't even wash my brush. And we want a little bit of white up in here. And then we're going to add a little bit of white down here. To his outfit. Okay, I'm going to go back to this darker green that I made over here with the black and add a little bit of shade in there where his arm meets. It's not quite dark enough. There we go. There you go, where his arm meets. Then I'm going to take my green again while I have this brush, and I'm going to make a shamrock up here in his hat. Again, it's just the series of the 3 hearts. I'm going to fill them in, and then I'm going to go pick up some shading. Okay, pick up some more dark green, pick up a little bit of black, mix it in. And we'll give a little bit of a stem here to the hat. Okay, I'm gonna wash my brush again. Now make sure you have some nice fresh white. I'm gonna pick up some white, and we're gonna come down here and we're gonna pounce in some clusters of clove buds. These are a little bit random. Do you ever see these in the grass? If you have something down here that you don't like and you want to cover it up, maybe you splattered paint like I did, that's a perfect place to add your little clove buds. And it's just pouncing in a series of dots with your white. Okay? Then I'm going to take my fresh white and I'm going to do a little bit of highlight on the sleeves. Do a little highlight up here on his hat. Do a little highlight on the nose. Add some highlight up here to the top of the hat. a little bit of highlight down here on this side of the hat. A little bit of highlight onto our shamrocks. A little bit of highlight into the grass with some white. Just a little bit, you don't want too much. I'm going to mix a little bit of white and some orange. And make a little bit more of highlight into his beard. But not too much. I'm going to blend some of that a little bit more. Okay. And I'm going to take some red. I'm not even going to wash my brush. I'm going to take some red, and we're going to do our ladybug. Now you can leave this part off. It's totally up to you. Doing the one side. And we're doing the other side. I have someone who comes to most all of my paint parties and puts a ladybug on everything. She loves ladybugs and she puts a ladybug on everything. Okay. I'm going to rinse my brush. Dry it off. There we go, that's a little more even, right? Yeah, okay. Looks like a Pac-Man. Rinse my brush, dry it off. Okay, then I'm going to pick up some black, and I'm going to add some shading down here to the black, and add in the little ladybug's abdomen. Then we're going to put some dots. Then we're going to add our ladybug's head. Then we want to add our ladybug's antenna. And then we're going to come in here as light as can be. I'm going to pick up some black. And we just want to go in. I'm not even totally outlining. I'm just adding in some shading in here, randomly making it seem as though there's shading on the coins where they cover each other. And that's it. And then the last thing I'm going to do, wash and dry my brush, and then give my ladybug some movement. And that's it. So, there is our little leprechaun St. Patrick's Day gnome. Leprechaun St. Patrick's Day gnome. Well, which one is it? Pick one. Oh, I forgot stems. Good thing I was looking. Last thing we want to do, pick up some of this dark green We want to put stems in here. We don't want our clover buds to just be hanging out, right? There we go. Just added some stems. Thanks, guys. I'll see you next time.